We are going to be talking about something really cool today here in Nature Tales. We are going to be talking about slugs and snails, okay? And since it's pretty close to Valentine's Day, I thought I would read you a really cool book, and it's called Slugs and Love. I like to say that title. So, welcome to Nature Tales, and my name is Amanda, and we're going to get reading our Slugs in Love book, okay? So, here we go. I'll try my best to show you all the pictures and everything like that, okay? Mary Lou loved everything about Herbie. How his slime trail glistened in the dark, how he could stretch himself thin and squeeze inside the cellar window, how he always found the juiciest tomato. No, she never spoke a single word to him. She was too shy. She thought about Herbie every morning and every night and most of the hours in between. On Monday, while she gazed into the strawberry patch, Herbie filled her mind and a love poem filled her heart. She wrote it in slime on the watering can. Strawberries are red, blueberries are blue. Herbie is handsome. Love, Mary Lou. Oh my goodness. The next morning, Herbie found it. He looked around. There were already at least 60 slugs in the garden, and he wondered which one was Mary Lou. He decided to send a message back, and he wrote it on a garden hoe. Mary Lou, which one are you? Meet me here at 2:30. Yours truly, Herbie. But the gardener put the hoe away in the barn, so Mary Lou never saw Herbie's message. Oh, poor Mary Lou. On Tuesday, while Mary Lou was hiding from the sun in the ivy, she saw Herbie hiding under a stone, and a poem immediately came to her mind. She wrote it on a wheelbarrow later that day. The sun is shining all around. It shines on fields and trees. But Herbie's safe beneath a rock. I'd wish he'd think of me. Mary Lou. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. Mary Lou loves Herbie. Jethro teased on Wednesday morning, and Herbie blushed. Who is Mary Lou? He asked. But Jethro didn't know either. Herbie sent another message. This time he wrote it on the fence so it would stay put. To Mary Lou, you could make my life complete. I'd love to meet someone so sweet. Tell me where and I'll be there. Love, Herbie. Uh-oh. But that afternoon, it rained and it washed his slime letter away. Even when Mary Lou was sleeping, poems of Herbie filled her dreams. She woke up early and wrote another poem on the scarecrow's hat. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Herbie, Herbie, handsome slug. Mary Lou would like a hug. Love, Mary Lou. That Mary Lou is some poet, said Sammy. Do you know her? Herbie asked excitingly. I think she's the brownish one, said Sammy. All day long, Herbie searched for the brownish slug, but next to the brown dirt, they all looked a little brown. Herbie left another message on a watermelon. Your poems make me happy. Your poems make me glad. But I can't find you, Mary Lou, and that makes me feel sad. Your friend Herbie. But Mary Lou was in the squash patch that day, and she didn't see Herbie's note. She left another poem on a zucchini. Herbie, you would make me as happy as can be if you just pay attention and please, please notice me. There's Mary Lou. Oh, are they ever gonna meet? Herbie was at his wits' end. He had been noticing her, well, all of her poems anyway, and he'd ask everyone he could think of if they knew her. I think she's the greenish one, said Homer. I think she's the pinkish one, said Jodelle. Maybe she's the one who likes tomatoes, said Adelaide. All slugs like tomatoes, said Herbie. But Adelaide had given him an idea. Herbie climbed on top of the tallest tomato plant, and on his way back down, he wrote a message. Look at me, I've climbed so high that I can see the world pass by. Mice and ants and old black shoes, but Mary Lou, where are you? I've left you poems near and far. Won't you tell me where you are? Love, Herbie. And that night, when Mary Lou went out to snack on a tomato, she found Herbie's message glistening in the garden. What joy, what gladness, what delight! Mary Lou could hardly contain herself as she hurried to the barn. And the next morning, the first thing Herbie saw was, your rhyme is sublime, Herbie, my dear. I am here. Oh my. As always, when she saw Herbie, poetry filled Mary Lou's head. She said, Herbie, I'm Mary Lou. We meet at last. How do you do? And Herbie was tongue-tied. Suddenly he felt shy. But at last he blurted out, I am fine. Will you be mine? And Mary Lou and Herbie lived happily ever after. Yay! Herbie and Mary Lou found each other, didn't they? That's kind of a silly book. Have you ever seen any snails or slugs around your house where you live? I want to share with you we're going to make some observations, okay? And we're going to see like what the differences are, okay? So we're going to talk about snails and slugs. And one of these is a snail and one of these is a slug. And I want to know what is different or not the same about these two pictures right here. So you can either unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. But what are some things that we're noticing about my snail and slug friend? I'll get it. So what do we notice about these two creatures here? What do you see? What do you think? Do you notice anything?
A shell.
A shell. You're noticing that one has a shell and maybe one doesn't have a shell. That's a good observation. So we're seeing that this one's got a swirly shell. Oh, yes. Yes, snails have the shells. That's right. And a slug does not have a shell. What other things are you noticing about these creatures? Either something maybe that's different or not the same. Is there something that's the same with these two creatures? What do you think? Let's see. One thing that I noticed.
Slimy.
They're both slimy? That's right. That's how they move and write poems, like the ones in our books, right? I don't know if they would write poems, but yeah, that's what helps them move. They're a mollusk. So they're similar families. They're related, but they're slightly different. Oh, yes, we also had somebody that notices they have two antenna thingies, right? So there we go. They got some things they can see, right? They have some eyeballs there, but they're not like our eyeballs. They can see light and dark, but they can't really make out too much other stuff. So yeah, so we're noticing one thing that is different is one has a shell. One thing that we noticed was the same is they're kind of slimy looking, and they got these two antenna looking things. Is there anything else we noticed about these two creatures?
They're small.
Can you say it again?
They're small.
They're
small, is
small.
Yeah.
Yeah, these ones are small. Some of these slugs can get really big. There's one called a banana slug, and he gets huge. But in Nebraska, we don't have very big snails and slugs. That's right. So their size is something that you notice. They're small. Now, I want you to think, what are some things that they eat? What are some different things that you think a snail or a slug would like to eat? Can you remember in our book, what is one thing that they like to eat? And Herbie wrote a big message on it because all slugs and snails like to eat this thing out of our book. Who remembers? What is that?
It was a tomato, but I don't know.
Right, so that's good. So in our book, they like to eat tomatoes, right? In the garden. Let's look. So what do snails and slugs like to eat? Vegetables, like our tomato in the garden. They like to eat things that maybe are underwater, like algae, okay? They like to eat things like mushrooms and flowers. So some people might not like snails and slugs because they eat their flowers. Do you like to eat mushrooms or vegetables? Do you eat the same thing as a snail and a slug? I like to eat the same things as snails and slugs. I like to eat mushrooms. Monica, do you like mushrooms? Oh, Monica does not like mushrooms. Oh, she would not make a very good snail and slug then, would you? No. So those are some of the different things they eat. They also can eat other things. Oh, we have some people that like vegetables, but not mushrooms. So Monica, you're not alone. I feel like I'm the weird one that likes to eat mushrooms, but some snails and slugs like to eat like dead animals. Some of them will eat animal scat. So they all have different things that they like to eat. Okay. Now, where do you think a snail or slug would live? Where do you think they would live? Who remembers in our book where they were living? So in our book, outside, that's right. Yeah. In our book, they were living outside. And who remembers where these slugs were hiding? Do you remember in our book? There's Herbie over here hiding under a giant rock. And here's Mary Lou hiding under some leaves. Why do you think they would want to be hiding under a rock or a leaf? What do you think? Why would they like to live there? Why do you think they would like to live under a rock or under some leaves?
Wow.
Because they were
Yeah.
hot.
Hot.
Yeah, they were hot. Yeah, they don't want to get too hot because we talked about how they're slimy, right? And that helps protect them. So they were hot and they were hiding under some leaves and rock to keep cool. And it's for protection. That's right. So our slug friend doesn't have that shell to protect them, right? Our snail friend, if they get scared or if there's a predator or something that wants to eat them, they can go in their shell, right? But a slug has to be camouflaged. So do you remember in the book, Sammy was like, I think she's the brown one. And Herbie couldn't find her because she was blending in with all the brown dirt. And they used camouflage for protection as well. Oh, so when it gets a little warmer outside, my friends, you have to keep your eyes peeled to see if you can find any snails or slugs around your house or in your garden. Maybe they'll be eating your tomatoes. Okay, so thanks for joining us here for Nature Tales. Does anybody have any questions about snails or slugs today? All right, my friends. Oh, that's a good question. The question was, do they provide any benefits to the garden? Well, they are good food for other animals is a nice way that we can say it. So I don't think they eat very many pests. And I think sometimes people see them as pests, right? Because they like to eat our fruits and our vegetables. But you know, sometimes they play an important role in the whole ecosystem, right? Because they provide food for other animals. And so it depends on who you ask if they're beneficial or not. Okay, but I think they're pretty cool to watch. And sometimes people keep them as pets. Isn't that interesting? So that's a really good question. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, all right, my friends. Thanks for joining us here on Nature Tales today. I hope you had fun with our book. And like I said, when it warms up a little bit, make sure you check out your garden or around your house to see if you can find any snails or slugs. And you'll have to look carefully because they might be camouflaged, okay? So thanks for joining us here today. It was great to see you all, my friends, and we'll see you around, okay? Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye.